Welcome to the City of River Falls Municipal Utility Advisory Board meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. All right, Lene, we don't exactly have a lot to unpack this evening. Can we get a roll call?
Absolutely. Amundsen,
Here.
Bjork, Gardner,
Here.
Plecker, Blick,
Present.
Morset,
Here.
Doom.
Here. All right, thank you, Lene. Looking for an approval of the minutes of the UAB meeting from September 15th. Can I get a motion? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. This is the point in the meeting when Mr. Hanson or Ms. LaRue come up and have a conversation. So why don't you come on up and you guys know the drill. Oh. Sure. You're welcome to it.
Last time at the city council meeting, Diane O'Dean, who used their time, wasn't here, and the mayor was keeping time, and I asked him too if I could.
Oh, the mayor made me.
Yeah, if I could stretch it out a little bit. I just had a short minute. Thank you for the opportunities. I'm William Hanson, N8723, 1025th Street, River Falls. Good news this week has included a number of newspaper and radio reports of a study published in the October 10th, 2025 issue of Science Advances by a team of state, federal, and University of Wisconsin researchers, comparing the difference between fishing and warming on more than 500 different fish population groups studied over 4 decades in Minnesota and Wisconsin. This study included both warm and cold water species. Researchers found that fishing has a far greater impact than warming on the study fish population. Perhaps here in River Falls, rather than wasteful spending of tax and utility ratepayer money for dam removal, we could consider upgraded fishing guidelines as the best and most economical long-term fish population management tool for the Kenny. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you. All right, moving along. Kevin, are we ready for some reports, sir?
We are. So we're excited to have Joe Daggett, the CFO of WPPI Energy, here today to give a little presentation about WPPI Energy and stand for questions and comments and concerns. So, Joe, the floor is yours. Thanks for taking the drive up late this afternoon to hear a little bit more about WPPI Energy.
Well, thank you again. My name's Joe Daggett. I appreciate the introduction, Kevin. I'm the CFO at WPPI Energy, and I'm really happy to be here tonight on behalf of this. I want to thank Kevin, Lene, and the staff, as well as the UAB for the opportunity tonight. Really, as a member and owner of WPPI, the city has a vested interest. Tonight, I'm here to provide some overview and some. Please, at any time, if you have questions, stop me and ask. I'd like to start out first with our mission and vision. Really grounds our purpose in helping our members and customers. In terms of our mission, WPPI was formed around 3 main areas: providing reliable, affordable, and responsible wholesale electric power, providing forward-thinking programs and services, as well as effective energy policy. Together, these functions support our overall vision, which is working together through joint action to help our community. To steal a note from one of our colleagues, you could really just stop there in the first 3 words when it's help members. Okay, there, that's So perhaps new for some of you, maybe familiarity with others. Here's an overview of WPPI today. Our 51 customer-owned electric utilities represent 41 members from Wisconsin, 7 members from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, 3 members from the state of Iowa. We were formed by a group of utilities wanting to gain control over their power costs, have greater access and bargaining power. Having been formed in 1980, we most recently celebrated a milestone in 5 years, as did River Falls as a founding member. So that took place last month. And again, because we are owned and governed by the communities we serve, all 50. That board delegates operational governance to a group of 11 elected member executive committee. I'd like to thank Kevin at this time for his service on our executive committee. Kevin's also the chair of our Rate Services Advisory Group, a former member of our Finance and Audit Committee, and last but not least, the MC of our WPPI Awards Committee. And then just a few notable highlights there from a system aspect. Peak demand, a little over 1,000 megawatts combined for the WPPI members, as well as on the financial end, the members have built up a strong financial background here with total assets around $760 million, and our budget for 2025 was around $500 million. So as we work to carry out that mission and vision, we are guided by a 5-year business plan developed with significant input from our top initiatives in 2025, and areas I'll provide some more insight on today, center around planning for future power supply resources, preparing for continued transmission investment, and continuing to deliver services, support, and advocacy for our. Of course, member satisfaction and engagement is the most important measure of WPPI. We'll really look for that participation as we embark on our next 5-year plan here. 6 that will cover years 27 through 31. So before I get into the business updates, I'd like to share some information on costs. This slide represents the stability and competitiveness of WPPI's average wholesale power cost. This is rooted in both the economies of scale that the members achieve together, 1,000 megawatt combined system, as well as through a balanced and diversified power supply portfolio. You'll note the top line there is the average actual wholesale power cost to members, almost or nearly the same as it was a dozen years ago. And then below that, you can see that that other lightly blue line is adjusted for inflation, has actually gone down over. We know that keeping costs affordable and stable is important to your customers, as well as to your local economy. Providing your wholesale power is why WPPI was created, and that remains. So as I mentioned, the diversity of our power supply portfolio is a key strength that helps limit cost volatility for our members. This map is an illustration of that mix by location, by fuel type, as well as different terms and structures. We also make purchases from the regional energy. And as a result of that diversity, we are not overly exposed to risks with changing fuel sources or technologies. And it also helps mitigate swings in market and gas prices on your. Together through WPPI, our membership invests in a more diverse portfolio of resources than one community on its own. And this long-term planning approach helps keep costs competitive, stable, and
question.
yeah.
So the overall, what just River Falls?
So,
Can I- so to
sure.
speak?
Our averages is in the daily loads are in the low 20s for megawatts. Our all-time peak load is right around 31 megawatts.
So as we ready for the future, as with all utilities in the region, our resource portfolio will continue to evolve. We expect to replace approximately 400 megawatts of our generating capacity by around 2033. This need is driven by expiring purchase power agreements, both wind and nuclear. And over the same period, we also expect fuel switching at our coal generating plant. WPPI is on my. You may ask how we're preparing for this. We're doing it in several ways. Last year, we issued an RFP for new resources and continue to actively discuss and evaluate proposals. We're also evaluating potential extensions of purchase power agreements, and then pursuing siting and a feasibility study in hopes of providing both optionality and flexibility self-build resources.
So it might be a good time just to talk about long-term agreements with the communities that you serve. Somebody might ask, why is it important that we have long-term agreements, needing to extend these agreements till 20 years left on them? Talk about how it relates.
Yeah, no, that's a great setup there, Kevin. And I think a couple things. One is, in general, these are very capital intensive, long-term. You're planning out multiple decades. The other part, which is a little closer to me in the finance area, is how do you pay for that capital? And to finance those resources, we use those long-term contracts as the ability to backstop our financing of the capital needs.
Remember years ago, WP, because they were Elm Road. Anyway,
It was probably either Elm Road or the extension, or I'm sorry, not an extension, purchase power agreement for a gas resource called the
Okay.
Nelson.
so we signed that, and I was kind of reluctant to do that because I'm committing 40 years down the road. I may not even be here in 40. What can we expect to have to WPPI or other agreement?
And you're talking about your member contract.
Your member.
That will be a really important part of. I mentioned the new business plan initiative here beginning 2026, and as we go out to the membership, talking about member contract extension and the relative term of that will be a key focus and engagement for us. So more to come, but I think that's something that we're definitely going to have commentary.
And I'll even be a little more bold to say, I wouldn't be surprised just of our preliminary discussions if
That will
Maybe
be asked to extend.
yeah, maybe by 2030, potentially.
Maybe here we'll do this play off of what Kevin said. This will work perfectly. We mentioned that we're going to replace a lot of generation as we get towards the end of the decade. I'll get into it here a little bit that our need is manageable in the short term. But as we get later on in the decade and early 2030, we're going to need additional resources that are really going to come in the form of long-term, greater than 10, 20 years. So I think the takeaway here is we're doing a lot of current work to prepare, but we also know that this is a significant effort, and we're well positioned for continued success. I mentioned our present day resource needs are manageable, as well as we have the debt capacity to take on beneficial opportunities. So our debt goes out to 2037, which was, to go back, the last original expiration of those contracts. However, your member contracts go out to 2025. So we have no debt between 38 and 20. That membership has allowed us to do that in order to build up some capacity. And then lastly, we have a lot of experience in long-term research. Shifting a little bit to the transmission side, given the industry operates on a reliability imperative, we're seeing transmission infrastructure set to grow significantly over the next. We're seeing this as it accommodates an evolving and new generation mix, growing electric demand, as well as a combination of asset renewals, new load and generation interconnections, as well as regional long-term planning efficiencies. As this happens, transmission costs will increase and become a larger part of our wholesale costs. However, owning the transmission system is another way in which WPPI keeps costs down. By flowing the returns back to members, we help to offset roughly 2 to 3% of power. Our investments include both direct ownership in specific project lines, large-scale regional transmission, as well as WPPI's 6.7% equity investment in American Transmission, commonly known. Between the two, the membership have built an investment around $200 million in transmission, and we expect additional opportunities as this builds up. And then in terms of an update around services, support, outreach, and advocacy, beginning first with data center inquiries. We're helping our members respond to data center inquiries on a regular basis. And as part of those efforts, continue to evaluate considerations with the goal of protecting the benefit of the local utility, its customers, and the WPPI membership overall. There's also industry concepts out there that we think could facilitate the goal and structure that WPPI and. In terms of business technology developments, we've implemented an outage management system geared towards small and medium-sized utilities, as well as launched a shared service for which members can subscribe to GIS support similar to the shared meter. We continue to build our technology suite of services, but our core remains customer billing and information, advanced metering services, and an online portal for utility customers. In terms of community outreach, last year the board approved a significant increase in the pool of dollars each member can deploy towards local customer service and branding of the utility and its. For River Falls, this means roughly $40,000, about a 70. And then lastly, on the energy policy advocacy side, we continue to help advocate on energy policy issues that are important to both public power members and our joint action model, primarily the preservation of tax-exempt municipal bonds and funding critical infrastructure and operations. That brings the end of my prepared remarks, so happy to questions.
I just think it'd be maybe a good time to acknowledge Jenna Willie, our services rep here today. Power to Thrive. Jenna helps us out a couple days a week. Share her with New Richmond. She's here doing a lot of the legwork with our customers and a lot of our energy services. Thank you, Jenna, for all you do. Let's see. I wasn't expecting that.
So if our peak 1,050 megawatts on average, how often are we putting excess energy? How often is it a, I would imagine it varies by day. I get it, but is it 50-50? Are we 30?
I'd say
60?
roughly purchasing on a net basis on average around 10% plus or minus a percentage points.
So we're buyer.
Yep.
For about 10.
And another way to think about that is we're ultimately hedged 80 to 90% of our.
Thanks for making the trip up here to River Falls.
Yeah.
With the retiring of the generation over the next, how many years, and you guys are looking at new sources, are we looking at more renewables or dispatchable, knowing that our peak loads, the time of day isn't necessarily matching up with renewables? I guess sort of what's the strategy for, as you're moving forward, trying to find new?
Yeah, I'd say the strategy is really an all of the above approach. You're going to need all those different resources. The analogy in my head is I'm a sports person, right? So if you think of a baseball team, um, not everyone's a shortstop, not everyone's a pitcher. You need different utility out of and competencies out of your team. No different than maybe you have a bullpen that comes in the peak time, or you have a base load plant. So um, that's you've really hit on where the evolving grid is going in terms of more renewables, more solar, but yet the ability to press a button with fuel on demand to meet other peaks and other needs. So it's really an all above the approach, and WPPI is looking through all those qualities.
Thank you.
I want to keep up with your sports analogy. As we found out with the Brewers and Dodgers, that base load starting pitcher is very important sometimes. And then we go, boy, that was nice if you're a Dodgers
You need to appreciate Kevin. And maybe, just our fuel mix currently, or as of 2024, is roughly 32% coal, about 25% renewables, and that's split between renewables that we quote unquote have the RECs for and renewables that we buy out of where we hold the RECs off. And then probably equally about 20% natural gas, 20%. So it fits in the diversity, it fits in the all the above, just for relative reference. We have not engaged in too many talks around that, and continues to seem like every day you read the news and more is coming out in regards to changing technology, innovative technology. Certainly something we haven't looked at in great detail yet, but look for innovative solutions as well as that's where the transmission be able to more easily move electrons around, take renewable resources, and in that.
We've been having a lot of discussions at the executive level, WPPI, about all the charts we've seen about the continued load growth in the United States of America and around the world, combined with the retiring of a lot of plants. It's creating quite a delta in what is the future. How are you going to be able to produce that stable base load with low emissions? Read the news stories, but there's a lot of leaning towards nuclear. But that takes a while. Continued load growth, we know it's coming. Transmission seems to be a bottleneck, which we're investing in. Then what is the future? How much you want to spend to keep prices stable, but provide that base load energy? A little bit of a balance.
I do
remember
not
when
know that
ATC
offhand.
started their- Other states have like
ATC's got roughly 10,000 miles of line that they built in and or manage. That's roughly the eastern half of the state. Yeah, so WPPI's, to the extent it owns plants, we're a minority owner, all except one plant, the Island Street plant. WPPI is 100% the owner. We contract out all the operation of those plants to either the majority owner or another entity. So we work closely with our partners I don't have the specifics on that, but I'm sure that they're amongst plant safety and cyber and all those things, that it's things that we're broadly looking at.
So Joe, I'll give you a softball question just for educational purposes. So there'll be many folks asking this question. Why does WPPI invest in training? Why is that important to our business model?
Thought that would be a little easier one when you preface softball, but I'd say multiple reasons. One is, as we went, remember the map on that previous slide that shows resources are not always connected right next to load. So we need an avenue for which by we can deliver effectively generation to load. And then two, WPPI invests in that, as I highlighted, to provide some returns and an ability to hedge transmission costs to our members.
There's a pretty healthy rate of return. Talk about that
Sure,
or not?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently the return on investment at the federal level is about 10.48%.
I'm super confused. Apparently I don't know as much as I thought I did about any of this stuff.
Josh, there'll be a quiz in about 4 minutes.
That's
So
I've been kind of dumbfounded by this whole thing. Forgive me, you probably already answered it. You lost me a while ago. We agreed to a 40-year contract. How many years ago?
I think it was 10 years ago.
So why are we asking for additional years too? Like I literally know nothing about this topic, so I'm super confused.
So what happens is WPPI has to go out and secure generation, either build a power plant, secure long-term contracts with somebody.
Yeah.
So they're going to go out and try to get a 30 to 35-year contract to build a plant, bond, whatever. But they need all the membership, have an agreement in place that goes at least that length of time. They can borrow the money. That having all 51 members have a contract that goes beyond bonding time. So you want to go take
All
out a loan.
51 people do the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah. So you need to
Okay.
take out these long-term borrows.
Yep.
And the only way you can do that securely is to have all your members with an agreement that they're going to be a partner beyond that time.
Okay.
And I'd have to really test my memory here. Maybe we had that contract extension in 2015 or 16, and what that did is it extended your contract from 2037.
In about another 5 years, 4 or 5 years, probably. WPPI would probably be. Hey, we need another 50. We can go out and borrow some money, keep the lights on. This is a fun topic that, again, everybody just takes for granted, right? They're flip the lights in behind the scenes. WPPI has what, about 110 employees?
Yeah, we're 120.
120 employees now.
All over the state.
The majority are just in one location in Prairie, and then for energy service managers like Jenna, who are throughout the state, and then provide various metering and other services throughout.
They have a team of 5 to 7 people who every day they watch the weather. They're talking to the MISO market, the mid-continent, buying and selling energy, planning daily, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to ensure that the electrons are delivered to every member without interruption. And they combine with Wayne, CyberLink, and every local distribution organization, make sure every pole, every wire, every transformer, securing the main energy, getting it to the communities, community take it, deliver it to every house and business. Wrecks the whole thing. 62% of the time. We had one.
Yeah, I guess I did have just one question is talk about data. Really been a hot topic. Obviously, talking about customers, massive. Talking small member communities when you look across the state, nobody is that. Talking loads that could potentially bankrupt utility should that data center come and go, whatever happens. How is WPPI helping the member community make appropriate decisions about what is going to be right for their community? Do we have a duty to service them? It's sort of what, sort of where do we fall into this mix?
Yes, all the answer to above, yes.
Okay.
No, I'm just, no, I mean, you've laid out a lot of the hard questions and considerations that, you know, we're trying to support as best we can on providing our members first with information, right? Information is key. And then what we can gather from working with multiple members is how we can maybe come up with a solution or a model in partnering with our member utility that, again, I think speaks to what you hit on most is that protection, right? It's protection for the utility and the infrastructure that it has to undertake, as well as protecting its other ratepayers. And then in terms of WPPI, you noted rightfully so that we're just over 1,000 megawatts, and you could see a data center that is well in excess or around the same size as our entire 50 system.
Thank you. It just as I look at that, it's just it's such an opportunity, but it's a real spicy meat.
Kind of look
How
at
do we
some of
manage
these
it?
and banking in. It appears that these member communities that get a data center, I believe they get either a 1 month equivalent. Their bill's going to be so that the community does. Seems to be that's the most common thing that letter of
Risk mitigation is the game, all of that.
So are the utilities able to have different rate for these large customers, or are they able to ask for an impact fee of that it's doubles or triples the power requirements? I mean, we do that for a lot of other things.
that might be a Kevin question, but my first reaction, PSC is going to or don't think. I don't know.
Right. There has been, what's the one in Plains? What's the Plains one called down there? Where they're going to make the screens and then the
Yep.
Foxconn
Oh.
site. What is the name of that area? Pleasant Prairie. Pleasant Prairie. That group down there, they have filed a tariff with the PSC already. That group. They're kind of the first ones into the fire with that. So there'll be a whole separate tariff for that facility there. You know, one could argue it's going to put a huge strain on the whole system. Like I said, 1,000 megawatts, and you get a Pleasant Prairie that's probably about the same in one spot. So that would probably stabilize and lower rates for people in that immediate area, but it puts a strain on the whole grid. That's more transmission that has to be built, another power plant that has to be built. So you probably pay for that in the transmission and the generation, I would guess. Yeah, they'll have their own tariff.
And the concept there really looks at providing a dedicated generation as a way, Kevin said, to mitigate some risk.
Yeah, risk mitigation. You think about, in the old days, but paper mills, all these communities that had paper mills did really well until paper mills. So they're, right? So it's risk mitigation. Get two eggs in one. There's ways to mitigate risk. I know around the country people are doing it, and then they are mitigating risk. Have to. Have to.
Well, again, appreciate the time and thank you.
Joe, thank you very much.
Congrats on 125 years.
I would say 125 years, a business model that must work.
You got some more reports, Kevin?
Yeah, I have a couple things. We could go over the financial report quickly. So after last month, when I had to give you the abbreviated report because late, and talked to Josh, our finance director, a little bit, and really the only way to give you a report that is reflecting really where we're at is to get a report that goes back about 6 weeks. So we have the August report, which the numbers are in, is a better way to say it. When we try to get it up to date, just as incomplete because there's still invoices out. We haven't paid the power bill yet, or we paid the power bill and haven't got the receipts in. So let's look at the year to date, and we're going to go back to the August. The first one is electric. It's page 15, and then I'll go to the bottom of page 17 to show that for the electric, it looks like a negative number, but negative in counting is good. So that means we're actually $286,950 in plus as of the end of August for the electric utility. So that is good. Then if you continue to go on to page 18, we start the water, and those are all of our expenses and income. You can see there we're 206,000 plus for water, which is good. And then the next ones you're going to get to wastewater, and then wastewater you're going to go, wait a minute, how are we 2,581,280? This is page 22. $2,581,287 in the negative. What is going on in wastewater? Well, if you go up a few lines from that, about 7 lines, you'll see the biosolids facility at a $2.7 million expense there. That is really, it shows up here, but it's really not in our budget. That was bonded for, so that won't be in the budgeted bottom line. If you take that out, we're plus 178,775 for waste. So that the expense is showing up on the monthly report, but again, that's a bonded. So for all of those 3 utilities, we're sitting good as the end of August.
Since you just brought up the biosolids plant,
Yes.
it sounds like
It's getting exciting down there, actually.
30-second update on that?
Yeah, it's getting exciting down at the biosolids. We were a couple months behind schedule, but it's highly technical. You think it's just throwing a bunch of end product through the dryer and that's it. It's highly technical. The wiring down there is very, very sophisticated. Everything will be tied to SCADA operations. So I was watching the 3 electricians work on a panel on the dryer. I mean, it's crazy the number of nodes and wires going. So they'll be able to run all of that from computers and iPads and phones, or all the sludge going. So they've tested the oil that's gone through the whole system. So that works. No leaks on that. Testing the screw press. Dryer's almost ready to test. I would say by the end of October, we're getting really close to this.
Budgetarily speaking?
Monetarily, I think we're still in line. I know Tim, remember when we first bid this and Tim's like, there's no contingency? Right? Which is a very, very, very good question. And we like, oh no, everything's just going to be fine. So you don't know how many days I walked around with my fingers. But we
You're luckier than I have.
I
was on.
right, we watched it pretty close, and we're definitely on budget, and I'm not going to say it's going to come in under budget, but it may slightly or right on budget. So it's going to be within 1% either way. But we feel pretty good. West Central, end of the year. So we'll be timing that. Okay, so also, I think the very last page, well, maybe I go to page 24 first to focus on energy programs, incentives through October. We've brought $117,964 back into. That's a lot of thanks to Jenna. Works really, really hard on that. Get that done. I know the very last page is always interesting. With Mr. Morissette and the city council already, but this is pretty fresh and hot off the press. Our fall cleanup numbers came in for 1,191 customers for our fall cleanup. Be a very popular event, and I think you can see by looking at the numbers, they're probably trending up. Use it. I'll run. Had a little bit of a traffic jam. Bringing fall cleanup. It's the simple things. And then also too, on the second to last page, I want to repoint out, Mr. Morissette was featured. He won a community service award there in the middle picture on the second to last page, graced by Jim Stewicki and Mike Peters, CEO and president of WPPI. And our very own Virgil Johnson there on the left, he won the Shining Star Award. And I think when I did the emceeing that day, I said, Virgil, and he won the Shining Star Award, but he's really in a galaxy all alone. Many, many years here, RFMU. Then we got the plaque for 125 years. That's on the wall outside my office, and we're very proud of that. 125 years. We had a successful public power week when they orchestrated parking lot across the street along with Wayne and his people. We had the Look Up and Live trailer. We had free donuts and coffee and celebrated with a public power. Jenna. I think that's my main highlights, Chris. Don't have much else to share tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the WPPI presentation. Questions were great. Joe's here for after the meeting if you. Anything else tonight?
Anybody have any announcements?
Go ahead.
I got a question for.
Yeah.
Rick, if you to spring this up. Disconnected.
I have the answer.
Disconnected 7 non-payment.
Yes. So as of today, I saw Wendy at 5:05 and she was stressed out and they're still working on a couple arrangements. Said they were down to 3 today. 3. All businesses are on and 3 just goes. So that was at 5:05.
Love it to be.
Right.
All people got to do is call us.
Right. The
Come
last
up with
the last person had a bag of nickels and pennies. No. But no, we're down out of 7,500 customers. Get that down to 3. It's a lot of work by that front staff. Send out 700 letters, make a ton of calls and follow-up calls, and work with them at the front desk and payment arrangements. It really work hard at that. And this is the last month, and then moratorium starting in.
Sounds silly, but these are active accounts, not just vacant homes.
Active.
They're active
Yes.
accounts.
Yep. And I can vouch for that to say we take it seriously. We don't take any joy in disconnecting anybody, and everybody is disconnected. Ample opportunity. And Wayne and Virgil knocking on doors even, so trying to help that. I know there's many communities in the WP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but there's many communities that WPPI members don't do 1/10 of what they, that's 70 off. Or
I'm happy to hear. Appreciate it.
question. That's all I have, Chris.
Okay, so looking for a motion to adjourn.
All motion.
Meeting's adjourned.